Good evening. Mary Beth's back.
Good evening. I'm back and I'm just like, I'm running, I'm catching up, I'm getting my feet on the ground.
She's back. Mary Beth, you're back from Mexico and then Toronto. And now, so you had three temperature changes, time changes,
Yeah.
cultural rhythm changes,
Yeah. Desk
right?
changes. Desk changes too.
Desk changes. Yeah, totally.
And
Wow.
now, and now I'm really happy to be back in my work pajamas.
I love it. Um, I'm semi in my work pajamas, but not I was up until about an hour ago, and then truthfully, I'm like, oh my God, I need a shower. And not because I felt like bleh, but like stinky. I was like, I just need water. Like I had that, you ever that feeling you just need to like whoosh, I just needed a refresh in the day. Like not for my body, but my brain needed a refresh. And it's too cold to go for a swim. So like a 3-minute shower, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm back. Do you do that?
No, but I should. I should. Oh, you mean you just have a shower to like make you feel better?
Yeah, to help me transition sometimes,
Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes I really need that.
like sometimes actually washing dishes is what I
Mm.
need to do to transition from one brain to the next brain. But other times I'm like, I'm so overwhelmed by whatever that the shower, or if it was summer, a 5-minute dip will do it. In the winter or spring, a 5-minute shower will do it. And then I just,
Okay, so before we check in here, I think you and I checked in pretty adequately right there.
yeah, I
But
think we did.
before we allow others to check in, I just want to note two things you said really landed for me. One was transition, and the other one was overwhelmed. So let's come back to those 2 points.
Okay. All right. All right.
Now let's breathe.
If you're new to the writer's adventure, we're breathing to check in, to get here, to acknowledge that this is a writing time we've put aside for ourselves, to say hello to this moment.
And also I've been really impacted by, let's just remember this breath. It reminds us that we're alive and we can just relax. And we can write.
We often start with a reflection prompt to acknowledge the beingness of yourself, whatever that means to you, like getting here. You want to give us some reflection prompts, Mary Beth?
I'm thinking of one. When I breathe, I feel.
Tonight, to get ready, in this moment, I notice.
Tonight, I will release.
Nice. Woohoo. Yummy. All right. So if you're new, you'll know that we always have a little bit of a tip for you in this space. And then we've got a few writing prompts that you can take or leave, but they're here for you to use should you want them. You may have carved this time out to simply write, and you don't need us. We're just your silent accountability buddies saying that, yep, we're writing. So we thought we would, because of this moment in time, knowing that at some point this will be totally outdated, but I don't know. I think this is a top 10 moment of memories of March. That's not COVID. Huh. And it's an Academy Awards moment. That's how Mary Beth and I jumped in tonight.
Happens every March.
Happens every March.
And often it's just like, okay, let's hand out the awards, see the people dressed up all nice. But then You said transition, you said overwhelm. And when I thought about transition, it's that moment when something happens and everything changes.
And in your writing, if you're writing a book, those happen in three logical places. They're turning points in your book. Not that you can't have more than three, but there's three big ones. There's even one, sometimes we talk about it, we call it the inciting event that happens before you start your book. Like, what's the thing that happened that your book then carries forward when it starts? But you can also have inciting events throughout. But what happened last night at the Academy Awards, if those of you don't know, Will Smith smacked Chris Rock in response to a joke that he made about Will's wife. We'll leave that to you to go dig in around that. But it was absolutely an inciting event. So what does that mean to you as a writer? Mary Beth, why don't you start? Because you got really kind of gotcha.
Well, I said to you just now, it's that moment that changes everything. And I think for everyone who watched that event or didn't even watch that event, you didn't even have to be watching, because if you know about it, you're feeding into, you're being brought into some channel of conversation about it. It means something different, right? But what happened there is going to act as a catalyst to move the conversation in a new direction, or to it's like the bottom of a funnel. There's some big idea swirling around, and this funnel just goes into this condensed moment that will demonstrate whatever it is someone's been trying to say or thinking, or and right now, for that particular moment, there are so many different things. It can
So where
go
that
so many directions, which is why the other word that landed on me is overwhelm. But I guess it depends on which way you're looking at it from. Are you looking at it from that moment outwards into all of the things the moment means, or are you taking an idea and looking for a moment to distill the idea? So it can be either overwhelm, or it can actually harness your ideas and provide that important dramatic conflict and pivot that explains what you're trying to say.
cool. So there's some awesome macros
Mm,
of that. What I want you to consider from a micro place, if you're to unpack that story, like if let's say you were going to write a book and that was the inciting event, or that's a turning point in your book. If you put that event at the 3/4 mark of your book, everything that leads up before that creates that moment. So as everyone's unpacking on social media now, how did that happen? What was going on in Will Smith's mind? What was going on in Jada's mind? How did Chris craft that joke? What was it that had Will Smith stand up and walk up to the stage and smack him? All of those are scenes. So if you're writing a book about that moment and what happens after that moment, you put that at the 3/4 mark, and then your job as a writer is to go, what are all the pieces that justified, right or wrong, it doesn't matter. There's no judgment when you're writing, that justified each of those characters doing what they did in that moment. You prove that. You set that up. That's one way. Another way to use that inciting event is stick it at what if that happened before the book? What if your book is a response to that happening? Now, it doesn't have to be obviously that inciting event. Your job as the writer is to go, what's my inciting event?
mm.
How do I want to use that?
And I think another, for me, something that really struck me, not about the event itself, but about the coverage of the event, was a headline. And that headline was, "What was it like in the room when?" Because I actually think that's one of, we, a lot of us have our big ideas, and we can go on and on and on about those big ideas. And we can say, and this happened, then this really shows that. But I feel like that headline that says, "What was it like in the room?" by exploring that, we can actually bring it alive for our readers in a really, really powerful way. So I
So
guess with all this macro, micro stuff, I think that's actually probably the most I think maybe the most helpful and concrete thing that we can take away from this.
well, what really spoke to me, Mary Beth, is what I offered was like the building blocks of the story.
Mm,
And that's like the thing that we do sometimes, and then this happened, and then
yeah,
this happened, and then this happened. So, like, sometimes we're in a place in our writing that that's what we need. We know that we wanna get there, but we don't know how to get there,
yeah,
so that's what I did. But then your prompt of what it felt like in the room actually colors the emotional, landscape happening in those, and then this happened moments. It's like, what's like, by starting with that writing prompt in one of those happening moments, you're going to take us into the mind of a character or the emotional response of the character, and you're going to describe that to me, or the way you set up the colors, like your descriptions.
yeah, it's like bringing your reader in, like taking your reader by the hand and going, "I'm gonna pull you in this world right here," and it's you're gonna feel it, and it's gonna be meaningful to you.
Okay, so we've got some writing prompts for you to explore. Yeah, I think you've got some two takeaways here as you're listening. You've got some strategy, and you've got some. Well, they're both strategy. You've got some concretes, and you've got some explorations. And but the writing prompt we want to start with, Mary Beth, your first one was, it was your favorite. It was, you could feel it in the room. You could feel it in the room. Dot dot
Mhm,
dot. By the look on her face, you could tell. When it happened, it felt like we didn't see it coming, but so play with these. If it speaks to you, let us know how you're doing, and we will come back in an hour and a half or so to check out with you. Happy writing, everybody.